Here we have the Tag Heuer Aquaracer 300 GMT. This is a stunningly sharp dive watch with a dual time GMT complication, or some watch collectors refer to it as a collar GMT. I think Tag Heuer did a great thing in expanding the Aquaracer 300 line with the GMT complication. It's a little similar to what Rolex did with the Submariner and the GMT Master 2 way back in the 1950s, or similar to what Longines did recently with their Hydro Conquest GMT. I like seeing this pairing. Now, the complication I find pretty effective or pretty handy, whether it's a true GMT or a dual time as this one is. It comes in handy when you travel, or if you want to gauge the time in a time zone where you have loved ones residing in. It just makes it a little bit handy. So I like to see the complication. And I want to thank Saltzman's Watches for lending in this new release for a review. Saltzman's Watches is a Tag Heuer authorized dealer in Rhode Island. They are family owned. I've bought from them multiple times. Great experiences each time. And they've given me a discount code that's effective on their website. So that's linked in the description of this video. If you're shopping Tag Heuer, Breitling, Hamilton, Tissot, or any of the brands that they carry, definitely take advantage of that discount code and reach out if you have any questions. Now, this watch has some really nice elements that I want to highlight here in this presentation, and hopefully it helps. Well, here's the thing. I think Tag Heuer, it gets a bit of a bad or unfair rep amongst watch collectors, but this watch, this is an example of a great product, a solid release. And maybe by highlighting some of these elements, it helps a little bit in bringing watch collectors around, helping them catch up. And I think that will happen on the whole a little bit more as Tag Heuer continues to offer enticing sport watches such as this Aquaracer 300 GMT. Now, the visual highlight, it has to be this blue wave dial. It is so dynamic. I love the range of blue that's displayed. In some light scenarios, the dial is a darker blue, while in other scenarios, it's a brighter, more saturated, traditional blue. And I think it looks great. I also like the shadows that are definitely noticeable on this wave surface. And if you look very closely, you can barely pick up a faint sunburst pattern on top of this undulating surface. So great attention to detail here on the part of Tag Heuer. Now, the watch has the same octagonal applied markers that you'll find on the traditional diver, the Aquaracer 300. These octagonal applied markers tie in nicely with the polygonal shaped bezel, the angular case design, and I like how Tag Heuer decided to mix up the dial texture with this version. In years past, they've done linear textured dials. In fact, my first Aquaracer years ago had a linear teak or plank green dial, which I thought was a very sharp watch, but this execution, bringing a nice, some nice curves to the overall design. I think it flows well. So I'm glad that Tag Heuer did that. The watch has large polished hands. It has a date complication at the 6th position. It has an applied metal brand logo and a couple slightly quirky elements that we don't often see in any watch brands. One being the model, the Aquaracer, taking prominence over the branding just below the 12th position. I've really only seen this in Panerai, so it's not that common. And the second aspect that's a little quirky that we don't often see is the fact that this has an integrated date magnifier within the sapphire crystal. So this magnifier does not sit on the top of the crystal like a Rolex. This is integrated into the crystal for a totally smooth top surface. Some watch collectors will say that they hate this aspect, but I don't get the hate. I actually like it. Outside of how uncommon it is, this makes the white date wheel look larger. So yes, it's easier to read at a glance, but it also looks larger than the octagonally shaped markers that are adjacent, and thus it helps balance out the extra large markers that are found at the 12, 3, and 9 o'clock positions. So I think that is a good thing visually. Now, inside this mostly brushed, well-finished 42mm case is a movement called the TH31-03. This is a chronometer certified Sellita caliber with a 4 Hz beat frequency, 30 joules, and 80 hours of power reserve. Now, as of the time of recording this video, this is an exclusive movement that is made only for Tag Heuer. So let me emphasize here, this is not just another 2893 or a modified 2893. This is a new caliber made by Sellita for Tag Heuer. And I mentioned this earlier, but this is a dual time style GMT that some collectors refer to as a collar style. This is not a true or traveler style GMT. And I think that's the only real knock against this watch, in my opinion. And it's not a massive one either. Now, the watch comes on a very solid bracelet. Like the case, it's mostly brushed, and it allows the dial to really stand out and be the overall star of the package. The bracelet comes with a milled clasp. It's signed. It also has a quick extension system that's very easy to use. And like many of you watch collectors, I like seeing this feature quite a bit. Now, here's the Lume shot. Like Omega does with their dive watches, Tag Heuer has applied 2 different colors of Super Luminova, so everything related to the general timekeeping glows green, while the bezel triangle and the GMT hand tip glows a cyan blue. And I've got to say, the Lume is very potent, very powerful, and definitely a highlight of the overall watch. Now, I think there's a bit of a missed opportunity here. It would have been cool to see all of the bezel indexing loomed like that triangle is, but unfortunately it's not. And that could be my only other suggestion to Tag Heuer to enhance this watch, one being a true GMT complication and 2 being a loomed bezel insert. Now, other than that, it's a very sharp, very solid sport watch. It has 300 meters of water resistance. It's only 13 millimeters in total height. This is comfortable on the wrist. It's sharp. It's dynamic looking with that beautiful wave dial. It also has great lume, a great bracelet, great ARC, and an adjustment, quick adjustment style clasp that's found within the bracelet. I think the watch is finished well. It's not overly polished in areas, which can be a temptation that some watch brands definitely fall to. And I do enjoy the scratch resistance and the light play of the bicolor ceramic bezel insert. And I'll end with this one thing. It is important to some watch collectors to have a very satisfying weight in a watch. And you know what? I don't know, that's something that really speaks to me. This watch falls into that category. It's hefty without being top heavy or cumbersome feeling or too heavy. You definitely feel like you're buying your money's worth of watch, but it doesn't feel like you're just buying a chunk of steel that's unrefined. And so it's difficult to find that balance, and I think that Tag Heuer definitely has. And that can be important to watch collectors as they start spending thousands of dollars on one sport watch, which many watch collectors don't do often, if at all. So I like the fact that this Aquaracer 300 GMT, it hits those sweet spots. Thank you to Saltzman's Watches again for sending this in for a review. If you're shopping Tag Heuer, definitely check them out and take advantage of my discount code. Like this video if you got something from it. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.